How's it going, everybody? This is Radishhead, and welcome back to another episode of Upland Analysis. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you one of the longer term strategies which I've been working on, which I think is really undervalued right now, and that is the searching for and purchasing of cheap structures in Upland. Now, in case you're not aware, what you're looking at on the screen right now are structures. I've just zoomed in on Portage Park in Chicago, where there's a lot of structure building going on, and at the moment these structures don't have too much utility. In fact, until the metaventures beta came out, there was absolutely nothing you could do with a structure that you couldn't do with an ordinary property. But Upland have made it very clear over time that that is going to gradually change, and that more and more features are going to be added to Upland which will require the use of a structure on your property in order to make the most of it. For example, when cars come into the game, there will need to be a place for the car to park. It's very likely that will be based off a structure. And again, as metaventures expand, so more and more people can set up their own shops, these shops will have to be run out of structures. That's just me scratching the surface of what these things are going to do. So obviously structures, they're going to become more and more important as time goes on, and I think they're going to become more and more valuable as time goes on. And clearly a lot of people agree, because the recent Spark sale sold out very quickly, and really the main thing to be doing with Spark at the moment is either building structures or renting out your Spark to help somebody else build their structure. So there's a lot of activity on the Spark market at the moment, and I still think that structures are undervalued right now in a lot of places, and I'm going to show you how I find cheap structures and how I calculate whether I think they're a good deal. If I just take a look at my assets real quick, I'm not trying to flex too hard, but these are my my structures. So I own about just over 30 of them, mostly in San Francisco. But I'm trying to get more and more of them in Chicago and other tier 1 cities as well. Now, I could rent that and pay somebody else to do that for me, but sometimes I find that actually buying a structure that somebody else has made can be even cheaper, which, one, great because it's cheaper, and two, you don't have to wait for it to be built. If anything, it should be more expensive buying a pre-built one. It feels like the market's in a really weird place right now. Now, one of the most annoying things about finding good deals on structures in Upland is that you can't really determine what is a property with a structure on it in game. And I hope Upland changes this in the future. But just to sort of show you what I mean, in the bottom right of the screen, you can always click this little button with a building on it, and that will show you the cheapest property in the area you're looking at. But obviously, the properties with structures on them aren't going to be the cheapest ones in the area, because everybody knows they're worth something. Not everybody knows that they're worth a lot, but they're worth more than just an ordinary property. So you've got no way of knowing through scrolling on this properties nearby list which of these actually has structures on it. Like, what if this 9,500 one had a structure on it? That would be an insane deal, but we just don't know. So I think that makes people also less willing to speculate on buying and selling structures, because they're a little bit less liquid, because people can't tell super easily in game where the best deals are for structures. So I'm going to show you today, right now, how I go about doing it. And it's actually using a Discord server, which I'm going to show you right now. If you're not on the Upland Discord, I seriously recommend you go and do it, because if you go on the community projects, contests and tools channel within the Upland server on Discord, there are so many fantastic servers. Honestly, just have a scroll through here. You'll see communities that are building up certain areas, auction channels, lots of different data channels. There is so much stuff on here, and I can't possibly go through it all in this video, but maybe I'll do a video in the future talking about my favourite Upland communities and Upland Discords for you to check out. But the one I want to show you today is called Upland Optimizer, and I will put a link in the description of the video and in the comments of this video, so you can get invited to Upland Optimizer. I know if you're watching this in the future, the link may have been expired, so just remind me and I'll send you a fresh link. Right, so Upland Optimizer. It takes a little bit of time getting used to how it works, but once you do, it's a fantastic tool in terms of exporting all kinds of upland data, including structure prices, which is actually something which is really hard to come by. You can't get it in-game. You can't get it on the Upland Marketplace Analytics website. And a lot of the other data tools don't have it either, but thankfully Upland Optimizer does have it. When you join, there's a little bit of an explanation here that tells you all about the server and how to use it. So I definitely recommend having a look on that first, because it can be a little bit confusing when you first join. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this bot spam channel here, where the Upland Optimizer has a really clever bot, which you tell it what to do, and it extracts the data that you ask of it. It's completely free. You can use it as much as you like for commands such as this. Thankfully, I've already memorized most of the commands on here, so I'm going to go ahead and go exclamation mark buildings for sale. So that's going to show you the buildings for sale, believe it or not, the structures. City 10. City 10 is Chicago. Again, you can fairly easily find out on the Upland Optimizer what the different codes are for the different cities. But today I'm going to be finding out about structures in Chicago. And then I'm going to type price UPX. So it's going to show me the ones which are for sale in UPX. You can search for ones in dollars. You can search sorted by markup. You can search in any kind of cities, and it doesn't just have to be buildings either on this server. You can search for all kinds of different properties. So that's what I'm going to type. I'm going to click enter there. He's looking for buildings now. The bot is very friendly. He's saying looking for buildings now, partner. And it should come out with a CSV file. Here you go. So it looks a bit of a mess, but you just click download here, and it is going to bring up a download. So here we go. And this is going to show me, as I just said, all of the buildings, the structure properties in Chicago sorted by price in UPX. Right, so this is the column that we're really looking for. This is the price, and this column here is the address. So if we see one which we think is a good deal, we'll go to the address. Now, how much is a structure worth? Now, this is a question which the users are debating for a long time, but I'm going to tell you what I think a structure is worth, and like the sort of prices that I really jump in on. So what it all comes down to is the Spark rental price, right? Now, at the moment, Spark rental price is about 1,200 to 1,300 UPX per day per Spark. Now, a small townhouse in Upland costs 950 Spark hours. How many Spark days is that? Well, you just divide the 950 by 24. That means that a small townhouse is 39.5 Spark days. Now, if we were renting that Spark for, let's say, 1,100 Spark each day, and we multiply that by the number of days it takes to build a small townhouse, there you go. So, according to my calculation, if you are renting the Spark at 1,100 Spark per day, that is 43,000 UPX for a small townhouse. Not including the property it's built on, just the actual physical structure itself is worth 43,000 UPX in the current Spark market. Now let's have a look at the prices here. You'll notice there's a few that are actually around 43 to 45,000 UPX for the whole bundle, the structure and the property that the structure sits on. Now don't forget, this is Chicago. Like, it's not a super cheap city. These properties are probably worth about 9-10k each on their own. So don't forget that. So if you think about it, if we're buying a townhouse in Chicago, we should really be adding, let's be generous, let's say 9,000 plus that. So in my mind, anything below about 50,000 UPX is a really good price for a pre-built townhouse structure in Chicago. And that's sort of the number I'd be looking at. And then I'd look at this list and say, is there anything below 50,000? And, you know, if I've got some upicks to spare, this one here jumps out at me. 38,000 is an unbelievably cheap price for a Chicago property with a structure on it. Even if we were renting out the Spark for 1,000 upicks per day, which is definitely below the market rate, that's 39,000 for the structure, not even including the property. So 38,000 for a structure and a property. That is the kind of deal which I think is too good to pass up. So I apologize to all of you who were looking at that and being like, oh, what? That looks like a crazy deal. You know, on this channel, on Upland Analysis, I like to put my money where my mouth is. 38,000, 39,000, there it is. It's still up for sale. That is a really good price. And I'm not even going to send an offer for it. I'm just going to buy it. Some people don't understand what these structures are worth, and I am more than willing to take advantage of that fact, and now that I've shared this knowledge with you, hopefully you too can take advantage of this fact. So that is how I find great townhouse deals, and I'm pretty happy with that one, I've got to say. As a little bonus, what about, it's not all about townhouses, you know? What about tower blocks? They're very impressive, and a lot of the biggest shops of metaventures in the game right now are actually located inside apartment buildings because they can hold lots more inventory than the small townhouses can. So what if you're really thinking big into the future, you've got a bit more money to spend, what is a really good price for an apartment block? Let's use the same kind of calculation. So I know that it costs 5,800 spark hours in order to build an apartment block. So how many spark days is that? Well, obviously we just take the number of spark hours, divide it by 24. It's 241 spark days. So if you had one spark, it would take you well over half a year in order to build your apartment block. But what if you had more than one spark? What if you're renting it out? So if you're renting that spark to build your tower block at, let's say, 1,000 spark per day. Let's say you got a little bit of a bundle deal because you're renting quite a lot of it. We'll take that, we'll multiply it by 1,000 because it's 1,000 per day for 241 days. And there you go. The raw material cost of an apartment building is 241,000 upicks. Now, let's see if we can find anything which is a good deal when you keep that in mind. So we think about 241,000 upicks, and the cheapest is I swear this wasn't meant to be an advertisement for my property, but the cheapest in Chicago right now by a long way is actually mine. I actually forgot I had this for sale. Yeah, it's mine. So I've got one for 400,000. I know that sounds like, you know, quite a lot because I just told you that 242,000 was a crazy deal. But you've got to remember, an apartment building sits on a large property, right? So it's not like a small townhouse which fits onto a little thing. So quite often you'll see the apartment buildings selling for more than their raw materials. Maybe they're built by people who have a better understanding of what they're actually worth. So I usually find the most success in searching for small townhouses, but I just wanted to show you, you know, if you're curious, that's how I'd work out the price for an apartment building. And I'll be honest, you know, not to my own horn, I think that 399,000 upicks is actually a really good price for a apartment building in Chicago. So if you you know, you want to jump in on that one, be my guest. It's a good price. But I hope you found that useful. That is the Upland Optimizer, and that is one of the longer term plays which I think people are sleeping on right now. So I hope that some people who watch this video have become awakened to the value of structures. I genuinely believe as time goes on, that more functionality is added to these structures, the prices of them are just going to continue to go up. I really do. And some of them are just blatantly underpriced right now. They're literally cheaper than the spark cost to build them. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So that's another avenue of profit making that I hope I've exposed you to today. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, I'd love it if you gave the video a like. And if you want to see similar content to this in the future, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed as well. But until next time, I'll see you then.